For countless generations, the human species lived in quiet balance with the world around it. We followed the rains and the migrations of herds. We left no scar upon the landscape heavier than the ashes of a campfire or a footprint in the mud. Anatomically, these people were identical to us. They possessed the same capacity for language, the same depth of emotion, and the same intellectual potential to solve complex problems. Yet, for 97% of our history, they built no walls, they bowed to no kings, they fought no wars of conquest. Then the pattern broke. In a geological instant, our species fundamentally altered its relationship with the planet. We stopped moving. We enclosed the wild. We reorganized the hierarchy of nature into the rigid geometry of the field and the city. The transformation from the foraging band to the high-density state remains the most radical rupture in the history of our biology. The popular imagination often portrays the pre-agricultural world as one of constant starvation and misery. The bones tell a different story. Skeletal analysis from the Upper Paleolithic reveals a population in notably strong physical condition. Men and women stood tall, averaging heights that Europeans would not reach again until the 20th century. These groups were not living on the edge of extinction. They were highly adapted to their environment. Survival depended on an understanding of animal behavior, seasonal plant cycles, and landscape patterns passed down across generations. Socially, these groups operated under what anthropologists describe as an immediate return economy. Food was consumed shortly after it was acquired. Without effective methods to preserve meat or plants for long periods, accumulation was impossible. Wealth could not be stored and therefore could not be monopolized. Around 12,000 years ago, the Holocene epoch began. The planet entered a period of warmer, more stable conditions. In the Near East, this climate shift created a corridor of sustained abundance known as the Fertile Crescent. It was here that a culture known as the Natufians emerged. For generations, we believed that agriculture caused people to settle down. The Natufian evidence suggests the opposite. They settled long before they planted a single seed. Sedentism triggered a biological chain reaction. In a mobile band, a mother can only carry one infant at a time. In a settled village, that constraint vanishes. Natufian women could bear children every 2 years. As a consequence, the population size grew. The pressure on the local environment increased. And then, the climate turned against them. Around 10,800 BCE, a sudden climatic reversal struck. They faced a stark choice: abandon their villages or intervene. Unable to rely on the natural regeneration of wild grain, they moved to manage it. They cleared competing plants. They selected and relocated seeds. They altered soil conditions and controlled access to water. Agriculture was not adopted as a path toward progress or abundance. It emerged as a strategy for survival. Farming was not born from ambition, but from pressure. The shift to agriculture brought a marked decline in individual health. Diets that once included a wide range of plants, animals, and micronutrients narrowed to a heavy reliance on starchy grains. Average adult height in early farming populations fell by several inches. Processing grain required hours of repetitive labor. Joints deteriorated, spines compressed. Permanent settlements introduced another risk: disease. Dense populations lived in close quarters, often alongside newly domesticated animals. Despite declining health and increasing labor, the agricultural engine continued to expand. Farming yielded far more calories per unit of land, supporting larger populations, even if individual lives were shorter and more fragile. Around 5000 BCE, growing populations pressed outward. Communities descended into the broad basin between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, Mesopotamia. The settlers of the southern alluvial plain made a consequential choice. They abandoned dependence on rainfall and embraced irrigation. Survival would now depend on canals, embankments, and coordinated labor. To water a field in southern Mesopotamia, canals had to be cut across miles of terrain. These tasks exceeded the capacity of a household and even of a single village. They required sustained, coordinated labor on a large scale. From this necessity, a new authority emerged. Those who controlled the flow of water controlled survival. By around 3800 BCE, The village was no longer the dominant form of human settlement. The city had taken shape. Uruk represented an entirely new mode of existence. At its height, between 40,000 and 50,000 people lived within roughly 6 miles of walls. The most common artifact of the Uruk period reveals everything: the beveled rim bowl. Millions of them are scattered across the ruins of Mesopotamia. These vessels functioned as standardized ration containers. Each bowl held a fixed volume, representing a daily allotment distributed to workers. Large segments of the population were no longer producing their own food. They labored on canals, walls, and fields controlled by institutions, and in return received measured rations from centralized storehouses. Food became compensation. Labor became abstracted. The independent producer was replaced by the dependent worker. By 2500 BCE, the priest's dominance was fading. A new power had eclipsed the temple: the Lugal, the king. Disputes over land and water hardened into organized conflict. The small-scale raids of earlier societies gave way to standing armies. With this came a monopoly on force. The king offered a stark transaction: protection from rivals in exchange for loyalty, labor, and taxes. Security became political leverage. The infrastructure of early civilizations rested not just on voluntary devotion, but on the coerced labor of those taken in war. The world we inhabit today is the continuation of a system whose foundations were laid thousands of years ago. The rise of civilization was a trade-off. Human societies gained the ability to reshape landscapes, coordinate vast populations, and preserve knowledge across generations. But they came at a price. Life became embedded in systems that demanded obedience, labor, and permanence. The open freedom of the foraging world gave way to something more complex: crowded, productive, innovative, and constrained. Civilization did not replace nature, it enclosed it.